Hi everyone, Queeveen here from the comfort of my kitchen. In today's video, we are going to be looking at the very end of February and a quick look ahead to March. Normally, I take a look at the coming month without finishing up the previous month. I don't normally pay too much attention to the final day of the month, but the Parade of Planets, a lot of people are saying it's running from the 21st to the 28th. It's definitely been running for the past couple of nights, at least from here in Ireland. But I wanted to check how visible the Parade of Planets is on the last night of February and on the first night of March before we take a look at some of the more exciting things that are going to come up in March. So we'll allow the sky to get a little bit darker here. Venus is out. Of course, Venus is the first planet to emerge. I know that Mercury is going to pop up over here somewhere, and indeed it does. So there is, oh, there's Mercury and the moon. Now the moon is incredibly new here. Let's see if I can get how illuminated it is. 0.7%, 0.7% illuminated. So if you wanted to, it might even be possible here at 0.6. If you wanted to try and get an image of the newest moon, this is a thing that people look for. People try to catch the newest moon, a tiny, tiny sliver of the moon illuminated. Yes, there is Saturn. We will get back to Saturn. A tiny, tiny sliver of the moon illuminated while the rest is really in darkness. So we can see there, that little highlight, that is the 6% of the moon that's actually, or that is the point, now 0.7% of the moon that is illuminated by the sun. The rest of the moon is technically in darkness, but illuminated by the orange yellow glow of sunset, light reflected from the earth, known as earth glow as well. So the moon and Saturn there are really, really close together. If only the sky was a little bit darker, that could look quite nice. Saturn is there, but as we push a little bit later, by the time Saturn is actually becoming visible to the eye, well, at least from here in Ireland, it's falling behind this bush, but it is also a fair distance below Mercury, and that's going to mean that it is closer to the brighter part of the sky, and we're looking at it through more atmosphere, which does make things more difficult. Going to a hypothetical zero horizon to make things perfectly flat, this is impossible. The closest you will get to this is if you do live near one of the big salt pans, one of the big salt lakes, then you may get a pretty level horizon in at least some direction. The ocean is usually quite level, but nothing's perfect. There's always hills, there's always imperfections, there's always things out there, clouds and such. We never get a perfect view, but this is perfect, and you can get close to this. So there is the moon. We'll see how dark we can leave things get here. Now the orange glow of the sun is kind of sticking with us no matter what. So it looks like Saturn might be just out of view to the naked eye for us here in Ireland. If you're closer to the equator, you may be able to pull it off. And if you're in the southern hemisphere, then you can refer back to one of my previous videos where we looked at the Parade of Planets from the south and saw how difficult it was, and how the different season that we're in on each hemisphere factors into that difficulty. Now, if we're looking at things that are pretty much impossible, let's get even more impossible and get rid of the atmosphere here entirely. So you saw the moon jump there. I hope the refraction of the atmosphere, the air, I don't need to click on Saturn anymore, the air refracting the light actually keeps the moon visible in the sky for longer than it would be if it wasn't for the air bending that light. But let's bring it back up here, and there we go. So there is the just barely not new anymore. This is just after coming out from in front of the sun. We can just see a tiny, tiny sliver there on the edge of the moon. So of course that's impossible. We won't worry about it too much. But if you did want to get an image of the newest moon, it looks like February the 28th is a good night to do it. So technically they are still visible there. We still have Saturn just barely, it is technically above the horizon after the sun sets, even if it's going to be incredibly, incredibly difficult to see. Luckily, as we leave February and move into March, Mercury is going to be even easier to see. So here we are on the 8th. This is should be the day of Mercury's greatest elongation. We've got the moon now very close to Mars, and in fact we can see here over the early part of the month, as the moon moves out from that incredibly close position. It passes near enough to some of the planets, but it doesn't look like it's passing directly over any of them. No, it looks like the moon is going to go above Mars rather than in front of Mars. It doesn't look like we're getting an occultation in March, but that's okay. We're not always going to get an occultation. There's Mercury at its greatest elongation from the sun, which means it's still in the sky and clearly visible as the sky is really getting dark, even with the imperfect sky that we're looking at here. So even with bushes and mountains in the way, here we are, 7:30, Mercury's still above the horizon. As long as it's not cloudy, this is going to be one of the better chances to get a look at Mercury. It should look close to a half. Yeah, looking very much like a half Mercury there, and looking like a half, just like a half moon. That's a good indicator that we're forming a right-angled triangle with this object and the sun. The sun is illuminating our face and illuminating this half here of Mercury, the other half in darkness. So Mercury there, a half Mercury. Over the course of the next few days, it's going to come around in front of the sun and disappear from our view. Well, not the next few days, once we're moving up towards mid-March. And the same thing has been happening and will continue to happen with Venus. If we take a closer look at Venus here, we'll see a less than half full Venus. Moving back in time, Venus reached its greatest elongation, a couple of months ago. I think it was back in January. It may have been December. Let's see. Yeah, about mid-January, according to the phase of Venus, which isn't the most accurate way to tell. But we can see here as we move past that greatest elongation of Mercury and further into the year, we can see we're going to end up with Venus in front of the sun as well. So they are both disappearing over the early part of March. We are going to lose those planets from our sky. And of course, if you're looking at Venus with a real sky, in the real sky with a real telescope, you'll still have to deal with a little bit of that light pollution from the, well, not light pollution really, natural light coming from the sun. It's still going to interfere, even if it is natural, it's still going to get in the way. So here we are coming up to the full moon. I do want to see how close Mars and the moon get here, because we're not getting an occultation, but they are pretty close in the sky. And if we move forward in time, we should see them get even closer. Yes, just barely not occulting, but there we are now very early in the morning of the 9th, and we can see the moon and the Mars there are very, very close together. We'll move back in time because I do want to take a look at the full moon, and I know that the full moon is going to be up pretty close to midnight. So there we go, we're looking at 99.9% full, and I don't believe we're going to get 100% full from here in Ireland. And that, oh, there we are, we're getting 100% full there. So let's see if we get just a little bit of the lunar eclipse. So I think I mentioned this already, but we are going to be getting a lunar eclipse. There we go. Here is our penumbral lunar eclipse coming up only in mid-March. So we're here very early in the morning, 5:45 in the morning on the 14th. And we can see a good portion of the Earth's shadow there blocking out part of the moon. Now, of course, we're seeing this penumbral lunar eclipse. I do believe from other parts of the world the eclipse will be even more impressive. So we are going to take a look at that once we get a little bit later in March. But we can see there. Let's take it back a little bit and see how it looks from here in Ireland. So there we go. There's the real penumbra leaving the moon. So taking a closer look here, starting at just 4 o'clock in the morning. There's the full moon, fully illuminated with nothing in the way. There's the edge of the Earth's shadow. So that's the actual penumbra. Sometimes this is as eclipsed as a penumbral lunar eclipse will go. But we are getting a little bit of the umbra. Little bit. Oh, quite a lot of the umbra. And then it hits the horizon. So let's see how much more of that umbra, the actual shadow of the Earth, we would get from this latitude. Oh, pretty much a total lunar eclipse there. So it looks like the total lunar eclipse isn't going to be visible from here in Ireland, not at its peak totality, which is something like this, just because it's going under the horizon. But it looks like for latitudes close to Ireland, you actually, or for longitudes close to Ireland, for our latitude and longitudes nearby, you actually will get a total lunar eclipse. It's just sinking below the trees and buildings here. So that is the upcoming lunar eclipse. And of course the solar eclipse, the upcoming solar eclipse. It's not really going to look like much from here in Ireland. I believe I've checked this out already. Let's move forward. Let's take a look at the morning sky there. You know, once we're later into March, the sky will look quite different. So we can see the summer triangles back up there, nice and clear in the morning sky. We've got Scorpius and Sagittarius over the south. So we're already starting to get the Milky Way into that position where it will really look good. And there's Venus coming up in the morning. So Venus has looped its way around the sun there. And there is the moon in front of the sun. And this is the eclipse. So eclipses often come in pairs. If the moon is directly behind the earth, causing a lunar eclipse, then there's a good chance that the moon will end up directly in front of the earth, causing a solar eclipse as well. Now we can see here from Ireland, this is definitely only a partial and not even a great partial. But I do believe that this partial solar eclipse will look much closer to total, even if it isn't total. I think it gets up to 93% in some areas. So we are going to look at that as well as we get later into March. But those are some of the big upcoming things. We've got a solar eclipse, a lunar eclipse. The parade of planets is finishing, but Mercury will continue to look great. And of course, we'll have plenty more to look at over the course of March as well. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do like it. If you enjoy this kind of content, then please do subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also read some of this information on my website, queevinscontent.ie. And hopefully I'll see you back here next time.